So I'm just going to completely shoot from the hip here about the whole. I don't want to say the kid's name. It's not fair to the kid. But the Miami quarterback commitment that supposedly was going to get $11 million from Florida and ended up signing for Miami with Miami for less, and the lawyer in California saying that Florida, whatever, just getting in line with the John Ruizes of the world and spitting lies about what's going on in Florida. Let me tell you, and I tweeted some of this stuff, but the fact is, less than a week ago, and I've known this for about 5 or 6 days, that there was $5 million that they were supposedly getting from whoever at Miami. Let's just say it that way. But that was never going to happen here. It was never going to happen at Florida. Not before he signed, not after he signed. It's not a plausible deal right now. That deal right now at 99.9% of the places in America, not possible. You can't manage a roster when you're paying one player. I mean, because you got to think of this in terms of 3 to 4 years. These kids that come in as a high 5-star guy or whatever, a 5-star player, a high 4-star player, they only plan on being in school for 3 years. So they're making deals most of the time for 3 years, maybe 4. But at $5 million, you're talking, $1.25 million a year if it's a 4-year deal. Almost 1.7 if it's a 3-year deal. So if you look at the rest of your roster that you have and try to take care of that roster at that number, it's just pretty much undoable. And having said that, the number that I had heard 5 or 6 days ago was $5 million. And that just wasn't going to happen. Not at Florida. If that can happen elsewhere, you know what? More power to the kid. He's a good kid. I believe he's a good kid. I think he's a good player. I don't think there's any player out there worth $5 million. Not over 3 years even. I don't think it is. And that may be a thing where, Florida is not ever going to get the top kid in the country because Florida is not willing to do that, inevitably. But so be it. I mean, it is the way it is right now, and Florida is not in a position, first of all, to do it, but second of all, you really can't recruit to that money anyway. That's the deal with the NCAA and the rules. It's not necessarily the laws involved, which Florida has laws that protect that stuff. It's more about the rules, and the NCAA has come out and said they are not going to target the kid. They're not going to deal with targeting lawyers about it because the lawyers are actually inviting this. They want the fight that these kids, these 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds coming out of high school should be able to earn what they can get. And it shouldn't matter how they get it or when they get it or whatever. They should be able to earn that. These lawyers want that fight. But the NCAA is not going to fight that. The NCAA is going to go to the institutions where the rules are made for, and this is how you have to do it, and they're going to penalize, they're supposed to penalize those schools, and they have made it known that that's what they will do. Have they shown teeth? No, they haven't. So whether that actually happens, we'll figure it out. I mean, we'll find out. But the bottom line is those rules are there, and they have come out and said, these are the people we're going to target. They're not going to penalize the quarterback. They're not. Because they don't want that legal battle. They're not going to go after the lawyer who is representing the quarterback because they don't want that legal battle. They're not even going to go after the fans that are actually paying for this kid. They're going to go after the institution that is supposed to be governed by the rules that they have set forth. Now, again, is there any teeth? We haven't seen it. But I want to say about this particular thing. Everybody's going to say, well, Florida's not going to play the game. Florida's going to lose. Inevitably, it's just not worth it. At what point, when you're paying one player on the team, the reports came out later that he was going to get $9.5 million. Now, I'm telling you, the number 5 days ago was 5, and Florida wasn't playing that game. They weren't going there. And if he made 9.5, then the people that are paying that money got suckered. I mean, and again, I'm not talking about how good this player is. I'm talking about the market that was there for this player. If they paid 9.5, they got suckered. That's a fact. And honestly, if that happened, then who's the one laughing here? Yeah, they're going to get a good player. Yeah, he may win them some games. But at the end of the day, they can't even put 10,000 people in their stadium, and they're going to pay this kid $10 million. Personally, I don't believe. First, I didn't believe the $5 million was a real number. I believe that that's what they were pushing. I have a hard time believing 9.5 is a real number, quite honestly. Even though that's what's being reported and whatever. Again, I hope this young man gets every bit of the money that they're talking about. I really do. I hope these players in all sports, I hope they all get as much as they can get, because there has been over time this change. But this whole scenario, whatever the numbers really are, it just can't. It's just no way of this being able to happen over time. There's just no. It's just not. It's at a level right now where it's unsustainable. It just is. So I think it will. I think it'll come down. I think it'll level out, and the highs and the lows will meet eventually. And the NCAA will get a better grasp on things and put some rules in there. But right now, Miami got a good player. They overpaid for him. I have no doubt about that. As good as he is, I just don't think. I don't think there's much he could actually do to merit that amount of money. The other thing I think about this is when you're paying players this level, you have to manage an entire roster. When the Ohio State coach Ryan Day comes out and tells his local businesses there that he needs to get $13 million to maintain the roster that they have. I think this is one of the biggest things that's come out in the last 2 months about all this NIL stuff. When he comes out and says it really says a lot. And I think this is the approach that Billy Napier's trying to take at Florida too. Everybody wants to go buy new players, and there's a couple of reasons for that. We can get into that at another time. They wanted to go out and buy new players and promise new players, high-profile players to come in. But the fact is, you have to manage your roster, and to think that you can pay one player, let's just do $11 million divided by 4. Let's just even make it 4. So you're talking $2.67 million. Is that right? $2.75 million, whatever it is, for one guy. And a roster as good as Ohio State's is right now, $13 million. So you're going to pay one guy almost a quarter, almost a quarter. Is that right? A fifth of what the entire roster makes. I realize he's a quarterback. I realize it's a quarterback. But you're talking also a fifth of what the entire roster at Ohio State deserves. Not the roster at Miami. I mean, we're way beyond relating those two. And it makes no sense. It's zero sense. Actually, I guess the 11 million is what they were saying Florida was offering. Either way, 10 million. The big thing that got me a little scolded tonight about this situation is that it was all a bunch of lies. First of all, there was no 11 million for Florida. There was no 5 million for Florida. Those are numbers that Florida was never, whatever, even going to look at. But the whole way that they're talking about that this stuff goes down is not the way it goes down. It's not. You're just not going to hear Florida. You're not going to hear this end of the deal where Florida is talking about we're paying this amount of kid for this amount of money for this prospect. That's first of all against the rules. And second of all, you're just never going to hear that from this end, from Florida's end. That's what this lawyer in California is saying it was happening with the quote unquote 11 million, and he's admitting is happening at Miami, and it's against the rules. We talked about dealing with the rules and whether the NCAA is going to actually do anything, but that's the bottom line. It's not going to happen at Florida. And the other thing is that at Florida, Napier wants to treat it as we're taking care of our players and the prospects when they get here. There is a realization of, okay, if I come here, this is what I can actually make. If that's the process at Florida. Anyway, I'm sure I'm going to have more on this. It really kind of peeved me when it popped up Sunday night, just because it was all so many lies. And again, I've known about it for 5 or 6 days. A number of $5 million. I knew that. I think it's funny actually if he got 9.5. I think that's a funny thing because that's probably And again, they weren't going to negotiate for any amount of money necessarily, but that's probably more than $7 million more than he would have made at Florida if he were to come to Florida.